Hello everyone, welcome to a new video on martial politics. Today we'll be discussing something more integral to the right-wing populist ideology. So what I've seen recently, among more libertarian-leaning people who say that get rid of all these government institutions, just get rid of all these things and everything will be fine. I've seen this from Real American Politics, who's kind of LARPing as a populist. There's others that also have said, they support libertarian economic things this no government interference in the economy, laissez-faire economic garbage, essentially. That is what I've seen many people proposing on the right. And this video is really meant to really enlighten you all on this position of government power and how we should use it to our advantage, and how we should prevent our opponents from using it. Anyways, so the reason I have Thomas Jefferson here is actually I was reading about him yesterday during my lunch break for school, and he was more of like a libertarian, free, individualist kind of person. Like he believed in a very decentralized government. Basically, states and local governments have more power than the federal government. Like he wanted a very weak federal government. But Thomas Jefferson, when he took office, initially, all of his goals were to massively cut down on government spending, the government debt, stuff like that. But in 1803, I think it was 1803, the first consul Napoleon Bonaparte said to the American delegation in France that he was willing to give up this entire territory, the Louisiana Territory, to the United States at a price of 3 cents per acre, and overall it was only, I think it was $30 million. I don't remember the exact amount, but this it brought up a constitutional debate among the in the Jefferson administration and in society overall. Does the president have the authority to accept such a massive deal, this massive acquisition of land? Does the president, according to the Constitution, have the authority to do this? The conclusion they reached was actually interesting. Well, Thomas Jefferson reached. He believed that, he originally believed this very rigid interpretation of the Constitution, but when he was in office, he sort of adapted his beliefs, and he said, the Constitution can be a tool to look at, but it shouldn't be the only thing that should be looked at. It should be looked at in modern circumstances, what is going on right now, stuff like that. I think he even said, I might be misquoting it, but I think he said that the Constitution, he later said that the Constitution should be rewritten every 10 or 20 years or so. That might be someone else who said that, but yeah, anyways. So yes, this raised that very important question about the government's power, and it really made people wonder: should the government be allowed to approve such a massive acquisition of land? And Jefferson adapted his beliefs about a central federal government, and he ended up supporting a larger government where the president has more authority than the Constitution had prescribed. So you saw the expansion of the federal government many times throughout history. With Theodore Roosevelt, he massively expanded the authority of the presidency, and he was a very, he believed in this philosophy of the strong, powerful American leader, that American president that basically helps guide society, makes it a better place. And that was kind of I guess more of a big government kind of perspective, and that was all to make a better country. Franklin Roosevelt, although I hate him, uh, he did massively expand the government for his own ideology, and this will prove my point later on. And Huey Long as well, he massively expanded the authority of the governor of Louisiana massively, to which, I think a lot of the things he still did, like I think appointing, because he essentially appointed the Speaker of the House. He was governor. I think that continued later on for quite a bit, even when um, the opposite parties were in power. But uh, he massively expanded the power of the chief executive in his state to fulfill, his ideological goals. So this is going to get into my main point, which is that, actually, I'll just stay on this picture, which is that you can use the government, you can use government power to your advantage. Government power isn't always bad. It isn't always good either. It depends on what you're doing. It's the same thing like with regulations as well for like certain industries. Like, you want to have, normal regulations, where you have construction companies placing their houses in safe areas where they don't cut corners, stuff like that. But yeah, so government power is not inherently good or bad. You can use it to support your own ideology. In the most successful societies throughout history, they haven't been these, libertarian, ridiculous fantasies. It's always been the right wing dictatorships, such as, Francisco Franco's in Spain. You could also say Napoleon, but he was like considered left wing during that time, but in a modern definition, he'd be considered right wing. Um, you've had various regimes throughout history, and the most successful ones have always been right wing and authoritarian. I mean, you look at what happened to Athens. They were a democracy, and look what happened to them. You eventually had women taking office, and they undermined the governmental system. Uh, and it really undermined society as a whole. So, yes, the most successful societies throughout history, this has always been constant, is that the most successful ones have always been ones led by, a rigorous leader who cares for his people and puts their interests first before anything else. No large corporations or special interests, or also foreign powers is what you could say. Foreign powers, just in case you didn't hear that, because people have been complaining that they don't hear what I say because I kind of like mumble. But anyways, the government can be used to your advantage to implement your ideology, and to carry it out efficiently. So the thing is, I really get sick of these debates with people who always say, "Yo, follow the Constitution, limit the power of the federal government." When in the end, all this does is really it strengthens the wrong people in society, and that's corporations and the ruling and rich people. It doesn't help the majority of the people. It's really ridiculous. Uh, we should use the government to our advantage to implement our ideology, to follow the agenda of our ideology, and use it efficiently and carefully. And yeah, um, I don't. The thing is, like with these debates, people find it like so controversial. Like, oh, you're big government, and like that's viewed as inherently wrong when it depends on the context of which the government is being used for. So, in the future, if any of you ever get into a discussion with someone relating to this, just say what I said. That you can use the government to your advantage. You can use its power to your advantage to implement your agenda and policies across the country or in your state, for example, like for Huey Long. Um, but yes. And another thing I want to add is that I wish we could do more like actual in-depth ideological discussions. And I'm not even saying like on the internet or whatever. Like I'm saying even in like public schools. Like if I were to be talking to someone in school about this, they wouldn't even like They would just like be quiet. They wouldn't really know what to say. Essentially, I mean, that's like for a large majority of people. And I think we need to do. I think we do need to shift uh, the window more to the Overton window to this position of like government power, like where we can actually like live in a society where we can, discuss this freely. Um, uh, you know, talk about our ideology, what we want to do if we're in when we're in power. What kind of policies do you want to fit your vision of America? And some people have differing opinions about that, obviously, based on their political ideology. But I feel like this should be like the vast majority of people should be, you know, happiness and prosperity. With everyone has a happy and functioning family, and there's no terrible wars or anything else going on in terms of foreign affairs. Uh, and yeah, that's the kind of vision that people want for the country. They want everyone to be happy and prosperous. They have their own families and they're self-sufficient, and they can, the average person with an IQ of 100, making like $80,000 a year, $75,000 a year, they can live a happy and normal life. And that is my ultimate vision for America, I'd say. But meanwhile, others want this like sort of free society where people can do whatever they want. When people, the reason government exists in the first place is to correct human nature. That's really what it is. Because without any, commanding structure of authority, then what is going to happen? You're going to live in a disorganized society where people believe in their own individualist theories about like like they can do whatever they want. They can they don't have to have family. They don't have to do this. They don't have to. They can smoke drugs and fucking sorry for cursing, but getting high and acting like complete morons. That's not a successful society, and that is the last thing that we really need for the United States. Uh, but yes, uh, overall, I'd say that uh, the government should be used for our advantage on issues where, it will actually help the majority of the population, not special interests. And, yeah, I guess I'll conclude this video. It's a bit shorter. Excuse me. But I think it is something very necessary to discuss, as I've seen many people, they discuss this issue and, they don't really, they still believe in like this, sort of freedom or individualist philosophy that's espoused by the libertarians, either left wing or right wing. Um, I think those people need to be educated on this position, and uh, yeah. I hope you all have an excellent day. Of course, I will see you in the next video, which will be about a Senate candidate. I will not mention who. I'll not mention who it is yet, but he hasn't announced yet, and he's from a Midwestern state. I'll see you next. I'll see you in the next video, and of course, I hope all of you have an excellent day. Farewell.